Welcome to Scary World. Today, we're diving into the chilling mystery of the Sodder children. On Christmas Eve in 1945, a devastating fire consumed their home, but 5 of the 10 children vanished without a trace. Was it a tragic accident or something more sinister? Join us as we uncover the eerie details and haunting questions surrounding this unsolved case. Get ready for a story that will keep you up at night. If you enjoy our content, don't forget to like this video and subscribe to our channel for more spine-tingling mysteries. This story delves into a real-life mystery. It explores the disappearance of 5 children. It's a tale of unimaginable loss and enduring hope. Please be advised that some details may be disturbing. 1945, Fayetteville, West Virginia. George and Jenny Sodder, Italian immigrants, had built a good life. They had a large, loving family. 10 children filled their home with laughter. The Sodder children, like many during that time, were excited for Christmas. The family was known for their strong work ethic. George owned a successful trucking business. Jenny, a devoted mother, kept their home warm and inviting. Life wasn't always easy, but they faced challenges together. They were a united front, bound by love and tradition. Christmas Eve arrived. The younger children, excited for Santa, begged to stay up late. Jenny agreed, but made them promise to turn off the lights. Around 12:30 a.m., the phone rang. Jenny groggily answered. A woman's voice asked for someone unfamiliar. Jenny dismissed it as a wrong number. As she drifted back to sleep, Jenny noticed a strange smell, burning rubber and wood. She looked out the window and saw the house engulfed in flames. Panic surged through her. She screamed, waking George. They rushed to get their children out of the house. The fire raged with terrifying speed. George desperately tried to reach his children trapped upstairs. He raced outside, hoping to climb a ladder to their window. But the ladder, which had been in its usual spot just that evening, was gone. George tried driving his truck closer to the house, hoping to use it to climb to the second floor. But the truck inexplicably wouldn't start. As the fire raged, engulfing their home, the Sodders watched in horror. They could only pray their missing children had somehow escaped. The investigation begins. As dawn broke, the Sodders surveyed the smoldering ruins of their home. The once lively household was now reduced to ashes and debris, a stark contrast to the warmth and laughter that had filled it just hours before. The family stood in shock, trying to comprehend the magnitude of their loss. The fire had been so intense that the house was almost completely destroyed. Flames had engulfed the structure with such ferocity that little remained but charred remnants. The intensity of the blaze left the Sodders and the community in disbelief, questioning how such a devastating fire could have started so suddenly and spread so quickly. The official investigation concluded that the fire was caused by faulty wiring. Investigators pointed to the electrical system as the likely culprit, suggesting that a short circuit had ignited the blaze. However, this explanation did little to ease the minds of the Sodder family, who had always been meticulous about maintaining their home. The missing children were presumed dead in the fire. Authorities believed that the intense heat had completely incinerated their bodies, leaving no trace behind. This conclusion was devastating for the Sodders, who struggled to accept that their beloved children were gone without a trace. But the Sodders couldn't accept this explanation. They were haunted by the lack of physical evidence and the unanswered questions that lingered. How could a fire so intense leave no remains of their children? The family began to suspect that there was more to the story than what the authorities had concluded. There were too many unanswered questions. The Sodders started to piece together a series of strange occurrences that had happened before and during the fire. Each clue seemed to point towards a more sinister explanation, one that the official investigation had overlooked or ignored. The phone call before the fire, the missing ladder, the strange noises on the roof. These incidents couldn't be mere coincidences. The phone call, which had come in the dead of night, was from an unknown caller asking for someone who didn't live there. It was an odd and unsettling event that now seemed to take on new significance. The truck that wouldn't start, these were more than just coincidences. The ladder, which was always kept in a specific spot, had mysteriously vanished, only to be found later in a ditch far from the house. The family truck, which had been in perfect working order the day before, inexplicably refused to start when they needed it most. These were more than just coincidences. Each strange event added to the growing sense of unease and suspicion. The Sodders began to believe that the fire was not an accident, but a deliberate act meant to harm their family. Their grief was compounded by a growing suspicion that something sinister had happened that night. The Sodders were determined to uncover the truth, no matter how painful or difficult it might be. They knew that finding answers was the only way to honor the memory of their missing children and to bring some measure of peace to their shattered lives. The phone call. A terrifying lead. The night was dark and silent except for the occasional crackle of the fire that had consumed the Sodder family home. Amidst the chaos, a phone call came through. A call that would lead the family down a path of mystery and fear. The Sodders began their own investigation, determined to uncover the truth behind the tragic events. They were not satisfied with the official explanation and believed there was more to the story. The family, once filled with joy and laughter, now found themselves engulfed in a relentless pursuit of answers. They learned that the voice on the phone that night had been laughing while asking for the unfamiliar name. This eerie detail haunted them, as it seemed to mock their suffering. Who could be so cruel as to find amusement in their pain? The Sodders couldn't shake the feeling that this call was a significant clue. Witnesses came forward, claiming they had seen the missing children in a passing car shortly after the fire. These sightings gave the family a glimmer of hope, but also deepened the mystery. Why would someone take their children? And where were they being taken? The questions multiplied, each one more troubling than the last. Another witness recalled seeing the children at a roadside diner the next day. This account added another layer to the puzzle. The children were alive, but in the hands of strangers. The Sodders' hearts ached with a mix of hope and dread. They knew they had to keep searching, no matter how long it took. A bus driver reported seeing someone throwing balls of fire at the Sodder house on the night of the fire. This shocking revelation suggested that the fire was no accident. It was a deliberate act of arson, meant to destroy evidence and perhaps to terrorize the family. The Sodders were now convinced that their children had been kidnapped and that the fire was set to cover up the abduction. The Sodders became convinced that their children had been kidnapped and that the fire was deliberately set to cover up the abduction. Their determination grew stronger with each passing day. They plastered missing child posters all over town, hoping for any information that could lead them to their beloved children. The community rallied around them, but the answers remained elusive. The Sodders' journey was far from over, and the terrifying lead from that fateful phone call continued to haunt them. Whispers of a conspiracy. Was it arson? The question that haunted the Sodder family for years. The Sodders began to suspect that the fire was not an accident. The night of the fire, strange occurrences had already set the stage for suspicion. A mysterious phone call in the middle of the night, a ladder that was always in its place suddenly missing, and a cut phone line all pointed to foul play. They learned that George had been outspoken against Benito Mussolini, the fascist dictator of Italy. His vocal opposition had earned him enemies, and the family began to wonder if these political tensions had followed them to their new home in America. Some believed that the fire was an act of revenge by Italian sympathizers. The Sodders had received threats before, but they never imagined it would come to this. The idea that someone could harbor such hatred was both terrifying and heartbreaking. Others pointed to a local businessman who had threatened George over a business dispute. This man had a reputation for being ruthless and had made it clear that he would go to any lengths to get what he wanted. Could he have been behind the fire? The Sodders even suspected the involvement of local authorities, who they felt were too quick to dismiss their concerns. The fire chief's actions that night were questionable, and the investigation seemed rushed and incomplete. Why were they so eager to close the case? The more they investigated, the more convinced they became that their children were alive and that someone was trying to keep them hidden. They followed every lead, no matter how small, and each clue seemed to point to a larger conspiracy. The Sodders' quest for the truth became a lifelong mission, driven by love and the hope of reuniting their family. Driven by grief and a sliver of hope, the Sodders dedicated their lives to finding their children. They hired private investigators, posted billboards across the country, and even consulted with a psychic. They followed every lead, no matter how small or improbable. They wrote countless letters, made numerous phone calls, and traveled thousands of miles, all in the hope of finding their children. Years turned into decades, but the Sodders never gave up hope. They continued to search for their children until their deaths. George passed away in 1969, his heart heavy with unanswered questions. Jenny, haunted by the image of her children trapped in the fire, followed in 1989. Despite numerous investigations, the case remained unsolved. The fate of the Sodder children became one of the most enduring mysteries in American history. The disappearance of the Sodder children continues to fascinate and intrigue. Books, documentaries, and countless articles have been dedicated to unraveling the mystery. The case highlights the power of parental love and the enduring hope that even in the face of unimaginable tragedy, the truth will prevail. The Sodder children's story serves as a haunting reminder that some questions may never have answers. Yet, it also underscores the importance of never giving up hope and the unwavering love that binds families together, even in the darkest of times. The mystery of the Sodder children remains unsolved. The passage of time has done little to diminish the intrigue surrounding their disappearance. The case continues to capture the imagination, prompting speculation and debate even today. Will the truth ever be revealed? Only time will tell. But one thing is certain, the story of the Sodder children will continue to haunt and intrigue us, a chilling reminder of the mysteries that lurk in the shadows. Thank you for watching.